We need to end what? She said, laughing hysterically. You should have thought about what people would say. You used me, Jonathan, and now you want to discard me like some piece of trash. I have transferred 20 million naira to your account. Take it and leave. This is all I can offer you. Yes, you are right. I truly do not care what people will say, but I cannot be with a woman like you. Imagine a man of my status marrying a second-hand woman. Ifoma's eyes darkened. Two can play, she said to herself, regaining her composure. I want 200 million, and I'll be gone for good. It was a cold day. It had rained all night, and the aftermath of the rain was a chilly September morning. One of those mornings that will have you wishing you could spend the whole day holed up in bed. The busy streets of Lagos, always full of life, even in the early hours of the day, was unusually quiet. A thick mist hanging in the humid air. Detective Nkem Okoro's phone buzzed on her nightstand, rousing her from a light sleep. Swearing at whoever it was that was trying to cut short her sweet sleep, she picked up her phone and stared at the screen. Immediately, her senses were jolted awake. Fully alert as she reads the message, a high-profile murder in Ikoyi. She's needed immediately. The name makes her heart skip. Chief Adebayo Balogun, one of Lagos's wealthiest men. Without wasting time, she jumped off her bed and quickly took a hot bath to loosen up her bones. And in less than 15 minutes, she was behind the steering of her modest Toyota Camry car. Detective Nkem Okoro, a young woman in her early 30s, is the first and only child of the late Detective Nnamdi Okoro. Right from when she was a little girl, she had watched her father do what he knew how to do best. And even as she grew older, she would listen to him as he shared some of his cases with her, and she would offer intelligent ideas that worked almost every time. It was not surprising when she went into the police force, following after the footsteps of her father. And just like him, she was very good at what she does, and as a result has not only earned her respect in the police force, but has also made a name for herself, despite being a woman. The journey had not been easy at all, especially because she was a woman, and Nkem was determined not to hide in her father's shadow and rise off his name. She worked hard to get to the heights she had attained, and her skills, coupled with her intelligence, was exceptional. For her, no case was impossible to crack. Probably because of the rain, coupled with the fact that it was a weekend, the roads that morning were unusually free, and in less than an hour, Detective Okoro drove into the mansion, where the flashing lights of police cars bounced off the marble facade. Nkem's partner and longtime friend, Inspector Musa, upon sighting her, moved forward towards her direction as she got down from her car. "What's the situation, Musa?" "It's bad. Come and see," he said, as he briskly led her to where Chief Balogun's body was found. Nkem and her partner, Inspector Musa, entered the grand study where Chief Balogun sat slumped in his armchair. His eyes were closed as though he's merely sleeping. There were no signs of struggle, no visible wounds. Only the faint smell of his expensive cologne lingering in the room. Nkem's sharp eyes scanned through the big room, her eyes catching subtle details. A tipped-over glass of scotch, another half-empty glass with a faint smear of red lipstick on its tip, and a recently accessed safe lying slightly ajar. "A woman was here with him," she said to Musa, stating the obvious. "I thought so too. But the problem is that the only female in this house is his wife, and she happened to be out of town at the time of the murder. She only just got back this morning." Musa responded calmly. With the way things were going, he knew that they were going to have a very long day. Nkem sighed. This was one of those cases filled with dead ends. But as usual, she was determined to see this case till the end. She moved towards the open safe, scanning through its contents. Inside the safe, she found documents, some marked with confidential seals, and then a small key with an unmarked tag. She looked at the key. Her curiosity piqued. "Find Emmanuel," she said to Musa. "This key definitely opens something very important, and if we must know what this key opens, we need him. For the meantime, I need to speak with every member of this household, including the staff." As Inspector Musa leaves, Nkem stepped into the mansion's main hall. Taio is the chief's only son. He is a rough, yet handsome-looking young man in his mid-30s. Taio was known for his reckless and lavish lifestyle. He was a die-hard habitual gambler, and no matter what anyone says, Taio would never stop. His father had tried so hard to bring him into the family business, but Taio was bent on living a wayward life. However, Taio had not always been this way. At one point, he was a fine, intelligent young boy with big dreams. But then, his mother died in a plane crash when he was 14. At that time, he was hurting so badly and needed comfort. But his father did not seem to notice his grief, for he was also grieving. He immersed himself into his business, and Taio, who had previously lost his twin brother earlier in life, was left to handle his grief alone. The young boy turned into the streets for comfort and fell into bad company. When Chief noticed what was going on, the boy had gone far. Chief bundled his son abroad, away from the bad company he surrounded himself with. But it was too late. Taio went abroad and continued living recklessly. He started to gamble and chasing women. In fact, any money his father sent to him, he gambled away. Until Chief decided to stop sending money. Taiwo, in a bid to make more money, started pushing drugs. Eventually, he was caught. He served 5 years jail time and was only released after his father paid a hefty sum of $5 million. Afterwards, he was deported back to Nigeria. Upon his return, he was still wayward and refused to be useful. The boy had grown into a damaged man. This morning, as Detective Nkem walks in on him, she watches him pace nervously. He's dressed in expensive clothing, but his appearance is disheveled, his eyes bloodshot. "I'd like to have a word with you, Mr. Balogun," Nkem said, keeping her voice as calm as possible. "Look, detective," Taiwo said, looking at her through his bloodshot eyes. "I did not kill him. I was out with my guys. I only just got back to meet this whole scene. If you want, I could give you a few of my friends' phone numbers. They will confirm I was with them the whole night." "I have not even said anything, and you are already getting all defensive," Nkem said, staring into his eyes without batting an eye. "Which makes me wonder if there is something you are truly hiding. But I want you to know this. Whatever it is that you are hiding, I will find it." Leaving Taiwo visibly shaken, Nkem moved to find the late chief's widow. By this time, the forensic team were already on ground, wheeling the chief's body away for further examination. According to them, Chief Balogun died sometime past midnight, but the actual cause of his death had not been determined. Ifeoma, the chief's much younger wife, is a strikingly beautiful woman, also in her early 30s. But looking at her, you would think she was in her early 20s. She was not just Chief Balogun's wife. She was his prized possession, and he did not hesitate to show her off whenever he got the chance. She went with him to every social gathering, and Chief Balogun would swell with pride as everyone stared at the beautiful creature perched by his side. But this morning, she was not her usually cheerful self. As she sat in the big living room with her back straight, she seemed so distant, her grief almost too calm. Nkem approached her, reminding herself to tread with caution. "Good morning, Mrs. Balogun," she said, offering a slight smile to ease the tension. "Do you mind if I sit?" she asked when Ifeoma nodded in response to her greetings. "Of course I don't mind," Ifeoma responded quietly. Nkem took a seat in front of the woman. "I'm so sorry for your loss, Mrs. Balogun, but I would like to ask you a few questions. Is that okay?" Ifeoma nodded, her expression still blank. "Can you tell me where you were by 12 a.m. this morning?" Ifeoma looked up at the detective. "Am I being suspected for having a hand in my own husband's murder, detective? Do I need to get my lawyer?" "There's no cause for alarm, Mrs. Balogun," Nkem replied, still fixing her gaze on her. "This is just procedure." Having said that, Ifeoma revealed that she had attended a friend's wedding at Ibadan and had only just gotten back that morning. However, her vague response raises Nkem's suspicions, especially when she notices the bright red lipstick the woman was wearing. She looked at Ifeoma with eyes that could pierce into anyone's soul, but the woman did not flinch. Deep down, Nkem knew that there was something big at play here, but she could not place her finger on it. But whatever it was, she knew that this woman had something to do with it. As she walked out of the mansion, she made a mental note to speak with the security men, but that also proved futile. They all confirmed that Mrs. Ifeoma Balogun was nowhere close to the mansion on that very day. Feeling all shades of edgy, Nkem walked outside the mansion's gate where she had parked her car earlier, and what she saw there stopped her in her tracks. There, standing as tall and handsome as ever, was Kola. Her heart started to beat faster, and her tummy started to feel funny. This is not the right time for this to be happening, she said to herself. Gathering her morale, she walked straight to where he was standing. So, to what do I owe this august visit? She asked, her face void of any emotion. Kola smiled. But this is September already. Stop it, Kola. Don't patronize me, she interrupted, wiping the smile out of his face. Okay, calm down, he replied, his expression now serious. I tried to get in, but the security men would not let me. I need to speak with you, urgently. Kola, please. This is not the right time. I'm in the middle of a serious case. Besides, I've made it clear to you that we have nothing to talk about. Nkem responded, trying to sound as calm as possible. Stop, Nkem, and listen to me for once. This is not about us. You see this case, It's bigger than you think it is. Something very huge is going on underground, and I have proof. Kola is a very handsome young man in his late 30s, single to stupor and not searching for love. Kola likes to think of himself as the voice of the people. He is a pseudo-journalist whose pen has fearlessly fought many battles in the country and uncovered truths that had been thought impossible to unravel. However, Kola and Detective Nkem shared a past that the both of them had been unable to recover from. They were high school sweethearts, young lovers. But unfortunately, Kola's parents wanted him to go abroad and study medicine, even though he had no interest in it. But Kola had no control over himself. He traveled abroad, leaving his love behind. Years later, he has gotten a degree in medicine, but still went ahead to pursue a degree in journalism, just as he had always wanted. Now, he was back to Nigeria, hoping to reunite with his Nkem. But she wanted nothing to do with him. He knew that she still felt something for him, but he also knew that she was still hurting. As he stood there looking at her, he knew that he could never, ever love another woman as much as he loved her. He wished that she could give him just one chance to explain himself to her. But like she said, now was not the right time to go into all of that. and that was truly not why he was there. Look, I know you are really busy, but find a place and time. There's something I want you to see. He seemed serious, so even though she had questions on her mind, she decided to give him audience. Any information she could get could help the case. They both drove in their separate cars to a small restaurant right there in Ikoyi. She had not had breakfast, so it would be like killing two birds with one stone. Once inside, she went straight to the point. So tell me what you know. Listen, I have evidence linking the chief to a controversial land acquisition deal, one that would have displaced hundreds of Lagosians in Badagry. And I think that someone very powerful may have silenced Balogun to protect their own interests. And how do you know this? Nkem asked, her 5 senses already at alert. I know this because 2 days ago, Chief Balogun contacted me. He wanted to tell me something, for according to him, he feared for his life and wanted the public to know what happened should anything happen to him. He sent some documents to my mail and we were supposed to meet today, but then he turns out dead. Nkem sighed. This was getting more complicated than she thought. This new information made so much sense, but things were not adding up. See, Kola, we found an extra glass of unfinished drink on Chief's desk, and it had a lipstick stain on it. The red color matches the one his wife was wearing. I think she has something to do with this, and his son too. He's acting suspicious. This all looks so tangled, she said, a deep frown forming on her forehead. Listen to me carefully, Nkem. I also want to get to the root of this matter, so I propose we work together on this one, Kola said, sounding as convincing as he could. Hell no, Nkem interjected. I'm not working with you, never. For the umpteenth time, Nkem, this is not about us. I do not doubt your ability, but you need me as much as I need you right now. Let's keep this professional and do our job. At the end of the day, it's a win-win situation, Kola said. Nkem looked at him, her eyes defiant. Fine, but do your best to keep your distance. Kola smiled at her, showing off his perfect set of teeth. You have nothing to worry about, detective. Give me your email address and I will send the documents to you ASAP. That being said, Kola got up and walked out of the restaurant. It was 2 p.m. by the time Detective Nkem Okoro walked into the station. Musa was already waiting with the reports she wanted. What do you have for me, Musa? I ran the key by Emmanuel and it opens a safe deposit box in a bank. But then I also found something more interesting. We went through Chief's phone and we saw that a sum of 30 million naira was moved from his account in the early hours of this morning, and the recipient was his son. This may not be a problem ordinarily. However, it is a problem because the transaction was done a few hours after Chief Balogun's death. Oh boy, Nkem sighed. How complicated can this get? Musa raised an eyebrow. Did you find something? Sit, Nkem said, pointing to a chair in front of her. And when he did, she told him all about her encounter with Kola earlier that day. Do you think you can trust him? Musa asked, his face showing concern. Yes, I trust Kola. We've come from way back. I'll go through the documents we got from Chief's place later tonight and compare them with Kola's own. I'll see what I can find. Meanwhile, find that safe deposit box. I want to know what's inside. Sure, Musa said as he stood up to leave. At home that night, Nkem pored over her notes, replaying the day's discoveries. She brought out the documents she retrieved from Chief's safe that day, and everything in that document further proves what Kola had said earlier that day. It was a document for an estate housing project in Badagry. The project contained 10 signatories, and 9 signatures were already appended, except Chief Balogun's signature. Still unsure of what she was looking at, she quickly went through the documents Kola had sent, and they were exactly the same. This could only mean one thing. Chief obviously wanted out of the deal, and someone did not want him out alive. As she packed the documents, a paper fell out. Curious, she picked it up and opened it. It was a note, obviously written by Chief Balogun himself, detailing his suspicions. He felt his life was in danger, and he feared betrayal from someone close to him, whose name he did not mention. The note ends cryptically, referring to them as the people who claim to be my family, but hunger for my downfall. He wrote that he was planning to expose these individuals, but did not know who to trust. Just as Nkem was still trying to decipher what she had just read, her phone beeps. It was Musa. It's late, Musa. What is the problem? She asked, sounding irritated. I'm sorry, ma'am, but I found something. The key indeed leads to a safe deposit box in the Atlantic Bank, belonging to Chief Balogun, and inside it is his will. Nkem looked confused. Why would he keep his will in a safe deposit box? Good question, Musa responded, sounding almost too excited to share his findings. He willed everything he owned to charity. His son was entirely cut off from his inheritance, and his wife is only entitled to the house. Every other thing he owned, money, lands, properties, both home and abroad, he willed to charity, Musa concluded. That's strange. Have you contacted his lawyer? Nkem asked. Yes. He opened the will himself. Now, here's the main gist. According to his lawyer, Chief knew that his wife was having an affair, although he does not know who the man is. He realized that she was with him only for his money, and so he cut her off too, only letting her keep the house they lived in. Nkem sighed. This is getting more interesting. But if the will is safely locked away, then neither his wife nor his son is aware of its contents. Exactly my thoughts, Musa said. But what if someone else knew? That could be it, Nkem replied. But let's not draw conclusions yet, she concluded. First thing tomorrow morning, we will speak with Taiwo Balogun again. We need answers. Alright, we'll see tomorrow, Musa responded and ended the call. After the conversation, Nkem packed everything together into a file and went straight to bed. But she could not find sleep. The events of the day kept playing through her head. Finally, her thoughts rested on Kola. Seeing him always brought back memories she had tried so hard to forget. She had been so heartbroken when he left, and he had promised to send her letters, but the letters never came. Deep down, she knew she still loved him, but never was she going to let her guards down again. That thought still on her mind, she drifted off into a restless sleep, filled with nightmares. It took ages, but morning eventually came. Nkem got ready for the day and headed out before 8 a.m. It was going to be another long day, beginning with another interrogation session with Taiwo Balogun, Chief's son. When she reached the mansion, Musa was already there, waiting. She gave him a warm smile. Hello, Musa. You're early. Good morning, detective. I did not want to keep you waiting, Musa responded, returning her smile. Good, Nkem said as they stepped into the big compound. By the way, you did a very good job yesterday. I must commend you for that. Thank you very much, ma, Musa said, now grinning from ear to ear. Luckily for them, they did not have to wait at all, as Taiwo was just standing up from the breakfast table when they walked in. His demeanor became panicky when they entered, but he did his best to put on a bold front and wore his best smile. Ah, detective, to what do I owe this early morning visit? He asked cheerfully. Good morning to you too, Mr. Balogun, Nkem replied sarcastically, returning his smile. We are sorry to invade your space this early morning, but we need to ask you a few more questions. Taiwo took a seat in the living room where they stood. I already told you yesterday, I have nothing to do with his death, he said, his tone sharp. Without waiting for an invitation, they took their seats facing him, and Musa brought out a printed paper, handing it over to Taiwo. What do you have to say about this? He asked, their gaze remaining fixed on him. They got the reaction they wanted. The shock was evident in his face. This is not what it looks like, he stammered. Then tell me what it looks like, Mr. Balogun, Nkem chipped in. First, you lied yesterday. You said you just got back that morning, but apparently you initiated this transfer a few hours after his death. Mr. Balogun, are you aware that your father cut you off his will? Yes, Taiwo replied calmly. This was not going to be as easy as he envisaged. So how did you know this? She questioned further. I know because the old man has said it to my face countless times and he never bluffs. Interesting, Nkem said, nodding her head. So, you find out that your father cut you off. Then, you kill him and transfer 30 million naira to your account. I have said this over and over again. I did not kill him. Yes, I admit I lied. My father and I did not have the best relationship, and he had stopped giving me money. I was out with my friends, but I came home around past 2 a.m. As I walked past his study, I saw his door wide open, and his position looked awkward. Out of curiosity, I went in, and that was when I discovered he was dead. I panicked. I knew what his death meant for me, so I took his phone, and with his token, I transferred the money to my account. That's the honest truth. The detective remained silent for a while. Another dead end. But Nkem spoke up. Do you realize that what you did is punishable? She asked him. Taiwo looked up, his face determined. If I were you, he said, sounding more composed, I would focus elsewhere. Let me tell you this for free. My father was keeping a lot of secrets, and if you dig too deep, I assure you, you just might end up like him. The coldness in his voice sent a cold shiver down her spine. She looked at Musa, the both of them wondering if that was a warning or a threat. As Nkem drove back to the office that morning, Taiwo's words kept playing in her head. It was obvious that the man knew something and was obviously hiding it. Or could he just be bluffing to keep her off his back? Unfortunately, these questions had no answer. By the time she got back to the office, the forensic reports were already waiting on her desk. And the reports only confirmed what she had suspected from the start. Chief had died from a high dose of tranquilizer, and traces of sleeping pills were also found in his drink. As expected, the whole place had been dusted for fingerprints on the day of the murder, and the reports now showed that besides Chief's fingerprints, 2 other sets of prints were also found. But one print in particular was found on Chief's face and neck, and that same fingerprint matched the one on the other glass of whiskey, the one that had the lipstick stain on it. Just as she was trying to understand where all of this was leading to, a police officer came into her office to inform her that the commissioner wanted to see her. She entered the office, saluting the commissioner as was customary. Ah, Detective Okoro, how are you doing? I'm fine, sir, she responded, still standing. Sit, Commissioner Daly said, pointing to a chair in front of him. I believe the Balogun's case has come to a close. Nkem frowned in surprise. No, sir. We just found a new evidence pointing towards foul play. Oh, come of it, the commissioner said. The reports also said that he died from a high dose of sleeping pills. which means that he killed himself. That information is not actually accurate, sir. Someone injected him with tranquilizers. The pills were just a cover-up. Besides, if he wanted to overdose on sleeping pills, he would just swallow it instead of putting it in his drink. Commissioner Daly looked at her, and she could sense that something was at play here. Fine, detective. This is the time of the year you are usually due for your annual leave. I recommend that you take your leave with immediate effect. I will get Detective Ahmad on the case. He will continue from where you stopped. Nkem looked up sharply. With all due respect, sir, this case is mine. I have useful leads and I would like to see it through. This conversation is over, detective. Your leave starts with immediate effect. Take the time off and maybe learn how to cook or dance or something. Nkem walked back to her office, fuming with anger. The commissioner was obviously compromised, she told herself. But what pained her the most was the mannerism with which he threw her femininity to her face. Something in her heart hardened. I will never back down from this case, she said to herself as she cleared her table. Once out of the office, she drove straight to the same restaurant where she had sat with Kola the other day. She had called him on her way and he had agreed to meet her there. She did not have to wait for too long before he showed up. "Hi," he said in his usual cheerful manner before perching on the chair in front of her. "You sounded off. What's up?" "Everything is up, Kola," she responded, her voice filled with emotion. "Calm down," Kola said. "Talk to me. What happened?" Nkem felt the whole anger crashing down on her. "The commissioner suspended me from the case." "What? Why?" Kola asked, his voice filled with genuine concern. "That's the worrisome part. He wanted the case closed, but I refused. To be honest, I suspect that he is in on what is at play here and is just trying to protect someone." "Tell me everything," Kola said. If he wanted to help her, then he needed to know exactly what had happened. Nkem went ahead to tell him all that they had discovered so far and about their meeting with Taio earlier that day. "So what do you plan on doing now?" Kola asked, even though he knew exactly what her response would be. "I'm not going to back down, Kola. I will fight till the end." She looked at him tenderly. "But then I need you." "I planned to work with the National Identification Board to see if the fingerprint sample we have would match with our suspects. But now that the plan is off, if I make any careless move, the commissioner will definitely get the information. I need to make a plan." Kola could see the desperation in her eyes, and he would never miss an opportunity to come close to her. He held her hands, squeezing it gently. "Don't worry, we will go through this together, and I assure you that I will be with you every step of the way." "Thank you very much, Kola," she said, looking into his eyes tenderly. In that instant, the room seemed to get warmer. It was as if they were trapped in a world of their own, trapped in time. The world seemed to stop as they just sat there, holding hands and looking into each other's eyes. "I can't do this, Kola," Nkem said, catching herself and gently removing her hands. "Do what?" he said, his eyes never leaving hers. "You were the one who left. Not a single letter did you send. and now you waltz back into my life and expect for things to take off from where you left it?" she said, her hurt evident in her voice. "I'm sorry, Nkem. I know how hurt you are, but I swear to you, leaving you was the hardest decision I ever made in my life. I wanted to write to you every day, but then I also did not want you to be tied down, waiting for me. I wanted you to move on, pursue your dreams, meet other people, then maybe find someone that would make you really happy. But I did not move on," she interrupted, her voice thick with emotion. "I could not move on. So what's the point?" "Me too," Kola said, shaking his head. "I tried, but I could never love anyone like I love you. We were very, very young. We were children, and I accept that the fault is mine. I only pray each day that you find it in your heart to forgive me." Just then, her phone rang, interrupting the moment. It was Musa. "What's up, Musa?" she said when she picked the call. "I just got to the office and was told that you had gone on leave. What's that about?" he asked, sounding confused. "It's a long story, Musa. Where are you?" Nkem responded. "I'm still at the office." "Okay, I'll send you an address. Meet me there in an hour," Nkem said and ended the call. There and then, Nkem and Kola decided that they would make use of his home office in order to avoid detection. She sent Musa the address and immediately left the restaurant for Kola's house. Nkem and Kola reached Kola's house in less than an hour, and a few minutes later, Musa showed up. She quickly briefed him on the newest discovery that had led to her impromptu leave. "The commissioner just wants me out of this case, but I'm not backing down." She looked at Musa, her eyes filled with determination. "I understand how dangerous this is becoming, and I want you to take a stand. Are you in or out?" Musa laughed half-heartedly. Of course I'm in. We are partners, remember?" Nkem's face softened, giving way to a light smile. "Thank you, Musa. So what did you want to tell me?" "Oh yes, we have been going through Chief's phones so as to get as much information as possible. Then we stumbled upon this message from someone named J.A. He brought out his phone and showed them a screenshot of the message, which read, "If you are not careful, the hungry lion will devour you." Kola and Nkem looked at each other. This clearly pointed to one thing. Chief Balogun was clearly killed because of the Badagry land deal. "Something is still missing," Kola said, and they all turned to listen to him. "The crime scene shows that there was no struggle. In fact, he had drank and probably talked with his killer. This means that whoever killed Chief was someone he trusted." Nkem said, nodding her head. Then an idea came to her. She looked up at Musa suddenly. "Musa, I told Kola earlier that I planned to reach out to the National Identification Board with the fingerprint samples that we have. They could have easily found the owners of those prints. Unfortunately, I'm out of the case officially, and any careless move will be easily detected. So here's what we'll do. I will have a meeting with Mrs. Balogun tomorrow, and Kola here will pretend to be an old friend of Taiwo. He is a regular customer and even has a membership at the lighthouse where the big boys play. Kola, you will approach him and act like you know him. Of course, he'll be confused because he does not know you, but that is not your problem. The whole idea is to get a handshake. Of course, your palm will be lined with a fingerprint lifting tape, which will automatically capture his fingerprints. I'll meet up with Mrs. Balogun and also get her fingerprints. She turned towards Musa. Now, this is where you come in. I'll call Ojo at the forensic department. He owes me a favor, and you will take our specimens to him so that he can compare them with the prints they found on the glass cups and the chief's body. Wow, the men said in unison, both clapping. This is so cool, Kola said, still smiling. By the time they finished their planning, it was getting dark, and Kola insisted on escorting her home before heading to the clubhouse to find Taiwo. When they reached Nkem's house, they were met with the biggest surprise. Her house was upturned, the couch was slashed, and the foam scattered all over the place. Flower vases lay broken on the floor. Their first instinct was to check if anything was missing, but nothing was missing. Rather, they saw something that sent a shiver down her spine. On the file containing the land deal was a simple note. The lion cannot be tamed. We know where you live. Okay, this is going too far. I think you should stay at my place tonight, Kola said, his voice filled with concern. I am not running away from my house, Nkem said stubbornly. They want to scare me, but I will not back off. I am staying here. Okay, fine. If you insist on staying here, then I am staying with you, Kola argued. But you need to meet Taiwo tonight, remember? Don't worry about me, Kola. I have a gun. I'll be fine. This whole thing comes with the job. But Kola was not convinced. I don't care what comes with the job, but I am not losing you, Nkem. I'll go to the club as planned, but I'll be back. Meanwhile, somewhere in Lagos, popularly known as Victoria Garden City, where only the wealthy elite members of the society dared to live, Ifoma, as gorgeous as always, walked into a sprawling mansion. But tonight, her expression was far from cheerful. Her smile was gone, replaced by an anger that burned deep into her soul. Jonathan, she called out angrily as she walked into the exquisitely furnished living room, brimming with anger. Jonathan Adetokunbo. Jonathan was a strikingly handsome man in his mid-30s, the son of one of the most influential men in the country. However, his father had died several years ago and he was now in control of all the family assets, walking in the footsteps of his father. Jonathan and some other wealthy men were business partners with Chief Balogun. They had closed several deals over the past few years, and this group of men had formed a brotherhood they called the Untamed Lions. They were loyal to each other, but something had gone wrong with their latest deal. They wanted to acquire a full community in Badagry, demolish the houses, and build a mega estate. They had paid the government a whopping sum of $500 million for that community. But Chief Balogun was not comfortable with that deal. The project would displace thousands of house owners in that community. They would not just lose their homes, they would lose their place of birth, their ancestral homes, their heritage. He wanted out of the deal. But no one ever leaves the brotherhood and lives to tell the story. And Jonathan made sure of that. What no one knew was that Jonathan was Ifoma's secret lover. They had met at one of the numerous social parties she had attended with Chief Balogun, and he was immediately taken by her beauty, grace, and charm. She also noticed the youngest man in the room. He was handsome and oozed of wealth. The best part was that he was young, a far cry from the old man she had married. She quickly took interest in this young man, and before the end of the night, they had managed to exchange phone numbers. Their affair had been intense, so intense that she was ready to leave Chief Balogun for Jonathan. Truthfully, she had married the old man because of his wealth. But now, the thought of being with someone younger who was even wealthier was all that she could think of. But Jonathan had refused. "The brotherhood has rules, my love," he said. "Besides, you have been married to him for a long time, and the man is already old. He could be dead in a few years. Use your head. Imagine becoming his widow and inheriting a large part of all that wealth," he said to her on one occasion. It was this thought that made her stay married to the chief over the past few years, waiting for the day the man would sleep and not wake up. The day soon presented itself on a platter of gold, but the circumstances were not favorable. When the brotherhood saw that the deal was going sour, Jonathan knew that he needed to make a move that would not be traced to him or any other member of the society. They had worked so hard and put in a lot of money into this already to have it messed up. The surest bet was Ifoma. It was time to use her to his own advantage. When he sold his plan to Ifoma, she was taken aback at first. "Never, Jonathan. You want me to kill someone, my own husband, for you? No, I cannot." Jonathan laughed. "I thought you were waiting for him to die. So why acting all self-righteous now?" "Yes, I want him to die, but I would not be the one to kill him," she retorted angrily. "Let me tell you something you don't know," he said, stepping closer towards her. "Chief Balogun knows that you are having an affair. I know because he confided in me." He laughed again. Imagine the irony. "As a matter of fact, you may not even be a part of his will. He swore you'll get nothing from him," he finished. Ifoma was speechless. "The pig," she thought to herself. She excused herself, saying that she needed a breath of fresh air. Ifoma was a smart woman. Once outside, she set her phone recorder and after a few minutes, headed back inside. "So, what's the plan?" she asked with a determination that surprised Jonathan. "That's the spirit," he said happily. "The plan is simple. You'll pretend to be out of town so that you will not even be a suspect. The security men will see you leave, but they won't see you come back. You will sneak in sometime around midnight. By then, he should be fast asleep. And then you inject this into him, he said, producing an already filled syringe. It would look like he slept and did not wake up. No one would suspect a thing, and you'll be out of there in 10 minutes tops, he finished. This plan sounds quite easy, but how would I get into the gates without being detected by the security men? She asked. Leave the men to me. I have Yisa, the chief security officer, under my control. I have paid him 10 million naira to make sure that the others remain asleep for the rest of the night. He will let you in, disable the cameras. Easy peasy. Wow, Ifeoma said. I see that you have this all figured out. So Jonathan, tell me, what is in this for me? She asked eagerly. Anything you want, my love, Jonathan responded. With Chief gone, we will finally be free to be together, enjoy our lives together, travel around the world. Anything you want, just name it. The thought was really appealing. It was what she had always wanted. Fine, I'll do it. On the night of the murder, everything was going just as planned, except Chief was not asleep. He was wide awake, going over papers in his study. She had to think outside the box, and so she filled 2 glasses with his favorite scotch and laced his own with a high dose of his sleeping pills. She wore his favorite lingerie and walked into the study, all smiles. The temptation was too much for Chief to ignore. He quickly took a healthy gulp of the scotch to warm up himself, ready for the action that would follow. But he still soon drifted into a deep sleep, and the stage was set for her to complete the mission. A few minutes later, she was fully dressed and out of the mansion to return when the news broke the next morning. The job was done, but Jonathan was not holding up his own part of the bargain. In fact, he had not picked her calls since the day of the murder. She marched into his house that night, ready to face him head-on. Just as she had predicted, he was lounging in his tastefully furnished state-of-art living room, flipping from one news channel to the other. Here you are, she said, as she walked in, her tone venomously calm. Could you explain to me why you have not picked my calls over the last few days, Jonathan? A good evening to you too, Ifeoma, he responded, without even sparing her a glance. There is nothing good about this evening. Why have you not been taking my calls? She asked again, this time raising her voice. Don't you ever raise your voice at me again. I warn you, Ifeoma, don't. He responded, his voice firm but maintaining calmness. We had a deal, Jonathan, and I have kept my own part of the bargain. No, Jonathan interrupted. You messed everything up. And now we have that nosy Detective Okoro digging into this. Why did you leave traces? And what with the sleeping pills? I met him awake. What was I supposed to do? I had to think fast. She looked at him suspiciously. But what has that got to do with us? Everything, Ifeoma, everything. What do you think will happen if our affair was discovered. I have paid the commissioner of police to bury this case, but if we are found together, fingers will be pointed towards us. Ifeoma, I'm sorry, but we need to end this. He finished. Ifeoma was shattered. She could not believe what she was hearing. We need to end what? She said, laughing hysterically. You should have thought about what people would say before you made me kill my own husband. You used me, Jonathan, and now you want to discard me like some piece of trash. She spat out angrily. Jonathan, who had been tapping away on his phone, looked up at her. I have transferred 20 million naira to your account. Take it and leave. This is all I can offer you. She looked at her phone as it beeped, confirming the transfer. Her eyes filled with tears. You are serious, Jonathan, she said, starting to panic. Please, don't do this to me. I love you. I know that you don't truly care what people would think. We can even keep our relationship a secret if you want. Just don't leave me, she pleaded desperately, tears streaming down her beautiful face. Jonathan looked at her without remorse. Yes, you are right. I truly do not care what people will say, but I cannot be with a woman like you. Imagine a man of my status marrying a second-hand woman. And how am I supposed to trust that you will not do with me as you did with your husband one day? Take the money and leave while you can. Ifeoma's eyes darkened. Two can play, she said to herself, regaining her composure. I want 200 million, and I'll be gone for good. Jonathan burst into laughter. You must be crazy. I will do no such thing. Oh, you will, Ifeoma said, smiling mischievously. I have proof of what transpired between the both of us, and I just might pay your favorite detective a visit with it. I'll probably get a light sentence for turning myself in. But you? All that your father has built will be destroyed. She finished. The ashen look on his face told her that her message had hit home. You are just bluffing, Jonathan said, quickly masking his panic. We'll see, Ifeoma said, still smiling as she walked out of his mansion. As soon as she drove out of the villa, she called Detective Nkem, and Nkem picked after the first ring. Hello, Detective, Ifeoma said, her tone as calm as ever. This is Mrs. Balogun. Nkem was surprised to be getting a call from the woman at that time of the night. Good evening to you, Mrs. Balogun. Is everything all right? No, Ifeoma responded curtly. I have vital information that would help your case. I have not been completely honest with you, but you have to promise me something. She paused as if waiting for a response. I'm all ears, Nkem said patiently. I will tell you the truth about what happened that night, but I want you to know that I was under pressure. I was deceived and used. And I hope that coming clean and helping the police will get me a lighter sentence. I just sent a recording to you. It's all you need. Nkem was confused. Why are you doing this now, Mrs. Balogun? I want justice for my husband. Jonathan Adetokunbo has to pay for what he did to my husband, Ifeoma responded. The name rang a bell. Then she remembered. Wait, Jonathan Adetokunbo is J.A. Yes, Ifeoma responded, Those are his initials. I see, Nkem said thoughtfully. Thank you for this information. We'll talk tomorrow morning. The call ended. Nkem paced her room anxiously after her conversation with Ifoma. She had played the voice recording and was shocked by what she had heard. The murder had been strategically planned, and Ifoma was used to carry out that plan. But she had only fallen for it because she was too materialistic and greedy. Worse still, Jonathan was her secret lover. She looked at the clock. It was already 11 p.m. and Kola was not back. She had called him 1,000,001 times, but his phone was not reachable. She started to panic. But then she thought about it. Maybe he was overwhelmed by the whole thing and could not keep up. It would not be the first time he would leave her high and dry anyways. The new line of thought infuriated her, and her worry turned into anger. However, on the bright side, the new evidence she had meant that she had an arrest to make tomorrow morning. It would be a big day, the day that many would go down and history would be made. With a smile of satisfaction, she went to bed, but with one eye open and her gun fully loaded and cocked beside her. She was jolted awake very early the next morning with a phone call. It was Musa. It's early, Musa. What is it? You need to brace yourself for this, Musa said at the other end of the line. Spill, what happened? She asked. Mrs. Balogun was found in a pool of her own blood this morning and has been confirmed dead. What? Nkem exclaimed. I spoke with her last night and her voice trailed off as she recalled their conversation last night. Obviously, Jonathan suspected she would rat him out and killed her too. But he was late to the party. I'll be there shortly, she said to Musa and hung up immediately. She got ready as fast as she could, but just as she was about to leave, her phone rang again. It was an unknown number, but she answered anyway. If you want to see your lover again, you have 30 minutes to reach the address I'm sending to you right now, and you must come alone. Don't try to be smart, detective. I have eyes everywhere watching you. The line went dead. Nkem was in shock. Kola did not leave after all. He was taken, she said to herself. Just then the address entered her phone and she quickly got in her car and drove off. She feared that her car may have been sound bugged, so she could not call anyone. Instead, she sent an SOS to Musa that will read, Emergency, help. She also forwarded the voice recording to his WhatsApp, just in case she did not come out alive. The location sent was not too far from Ikoyi. It was an abandoned construction site. Immediately she walked in, 2 men seized her, and she did not put up a fight. She followed them meekly. They took her to a room at the back. The room was not painted, but it had a chair and a table in it. She was made to sit. Where is he? She asked, masking her fear. You should be more worried about yourself right now, detective, a voice said from the door. She turned towards the speaker, and it was none other than Jonathan Adetokunbo in the flesh. I warned you to stay away, but you just couldn't. You were sent on a compulsory leave. but you chose to keep poking your nose where it does not belong. He walked towards her. You know what they say about the curious cat? It always gets killed. He laughed cynically. You are probably wondering how I knew you were snooping around. It's easy. I bugged your house. So, I have access to every conversation you have had in that house. And I know that Ifeoma called you last night. You were supposed to meet with her this morning. So you see, it's your fault that she is dead. Too bad, you'll have to join her soon. I'm not afraid of you, Nkem retorted. You said you would free Kola if I showed up here. Here I am, so let him go. But I said no such thing, darling. I only said, if you wanted to see him alive. See, I'm a man of my word. I'll give the both of you 5 minutes to say your goodbyes. But don't worry, you both can continue whatever you have going on in the afterlife. Jonathan said as he walked out of the room. A few minutes later, the two men who had escorted her in earlier led Kola into the room. His hands were tied in front of him. His eyes were withdrawn and his clothes were ruffled. Her heart broke at the sight of him. I'm so sorry, Kola, she said, her eyes filled with tears. Suddenly, they heard gunshots flying around. The two men quickly left the room to see what was going on outside. Immediately they stepped out. A loud voice stopped them in their tracks. Freeze! Put your hands above your head and go down on your knees. Ah, thank God. Nkem heaved a sigh of relief. It's Musa. How did he find us here? Kola asked, relief washing over him. I sent him an SOS before getting here. My phone has a tracker and my location is turned on. He must have tracked it. Truly, Musa had tracked the detective's phone. Their phones had a GPS tracker that made it easy for them to find each other whenever they went on a field operation. So, when he got her emergency message and confirmed her location, he got back up and set out. The next few hours were chaotic. The news channels flooded the gates of the police station. Everyone wanted to get a full shot of the famous Jonathan Adetokunbo as he was brought down in handcuffs from the police van. He had tried to escape during the police raid, but a police officer had shot at his legs as he tried to climb a fence. Fortunately for him, the bullet had only grazed him. Jonathan was led into the police station with his head bowed. Thoughts played in his head. This may be the end of the road for him, but he was definitely not going down alone, he thought to himself. Meanwhile, Kola and Nkem sat together in each other's arms in the back seat of Musa's car, on their way to Kola's place. Her house was still a mess, and all Nkem needed was somewhere away from all the chaos. Thank you very much, Nkem said to Musa when they got down in front of Kola's rented apartment. I really appreciate all that you have done. I could not have asked for a better partner. It's all good, Musa said, smiling. You have showed up for me plenty times too. I'm just glad that we got there when we did. You've had a long day. You should get some rest. Sure, I will, Nkem said. Then she remembered something. Did you get the recording I sent to you? Yes, I did. Funny enough, you were so sure that that woman had something to do with it all along, he responded. Yeah, I felt it deep in my bones. Meanwhile, you know what to do with it, right? Of course, Musa said as he got into his car. As he drove off, Kola led Nkem into the apartment and she let him hold her. The men had taken him immediately he left the house for the club the night before. He never made it to Taiwo that night. He did not even believe that he would see the light of day again. And in those moments, all he could think of was Nkem. She had a permanent hold of his heart, and looking at her right now, he swore to himself that no matter what it took, he was never going to leave her side. In the days that followed, a thorough search was conducted in Jonathan's home and office, and several documents that tied him and other members of the Brotherhood to a host of illegal deals, including drug trafficking and money laundering, was recovered. Some of the members were quick enough to run out of the country and were still on the run, while the others were caught and made to face the consequences of their actions. With the evidence gathered against him, Jonathan Adetokunbo was charged for aiding the murder of Chief Adebayo Balogun, committing the murder of Mrs. Ifeoma Balogun, the attempted murder of Detective Nkem Okoro, an officer of the law, and the attempted murder of Mr. Kola Adeniyi. He was also given multiple charges of drug trafficking and money laundering. The charges leveled against him were too big for him to get out of. It was certain that he would spend the rest of his life behind bars. The commissioner, on the other hand, was not left out. He was immediately stripped off his badge and sentenced to 15 years behind bars for accepting bribe and concealing evidence. Nkem completed her leave, and in a few weeks, she was back in her office. She received a warm reception on the day of her return to office. Her colleagues clapped and cheered her on, and she could not stop beaming with joy. As she sat in her office later that day, she felt a sense of fulfillment. Her eyes fell on her father's picture, which was on her table. She knew that her father would be proud of her wherever he was right now. And then her thoughts drifted to Kola. One beautiful thing that had come out of the whole tragic situation was Kola, and she knew that this would be the beginning of many beautiful days for them going forward. Hey lovers, thank you for listening to this story. If you are new here, welcome to our community. I hope you enjoyed listening to this story as much as I enjoyed creating it. If you have not done so already, please hit the subscribe button. And to support the growth of our community, give this video a big thumbs up. If you know someone who would enjoy a story like this, do not hesitate to share. Don't forget to leave a comment down below. Remember, like, share, drop a comment and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'll take my leave now, but I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.